Okay, good morning and welcome. This is our first coffee talk in this series. We are planning to do one of these once a month, and we will share on a different topic each month. Towards the end of the slide deck today, you will see there is a suggestion box. So if you have a suggestion for a future topic for this series, then please feel free to drop that into the box. It's linked. There's a link there that you can drop it into. But we would love to hear from you on the topics that you feel are timely or priority topics, things that you really need, you feel more information on. So please be sure to check that out if there's something that you want to hear about here in these next few months. Slides are in the chat. Again, if you want to go ahead and follow along with that. My name is Amanda Callahan. I am the coordinator for Counselor Connect, which is a statewide support network for school counselors and school social workers operated by the Central Indiana Educational Service Center, or CIESC. So thanks again for being here. I am very pleased to have two very special guests. I'm sure they don't really need any kind of an introduction because all of you probably know who they are. But we have Rebekah Frazer from the Department of Education. She's our school counseling specialist. And Hilary Deardorff, who is the Director of K-12 Outreach for the Indiana Commission for Higher Education. So with that, I'm not going to waste any more time. And Rebekah, I'm going to have you go ahead and get us started with the state update.
All right. Thank you, Amanda. So as Amanda mentioned, when we first started, there is a link to my slides here directly, just because we will continue to update this as we have changes and additions. We're still responding to the most recent legislation. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up my slide deck here. Give me just a second. Okay. Hold on. Gotta love technology here. Let me bring up the right slide deck here. While we're waiting, please go ahead and make sure you're muted just so that we can get through the information. And I will have some time for questions at the end. But as we know, there's a lot of changes coming, so don't worry, we'll get around to that. Can you all see my screen okay? Amanda, are we good?
Yep, you're good, Rebekah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so for our session, again, if you want to follow along, go ahead and scan that QR code there. As we continue to add to legislation and updates, I will update this presentation so you'll have the most recent information. This isn't covering all of the legislation from this past session, but I tried to, as I was looking through things, pick out things that would be relevant to school counselors. So, but I will show later in the presentation, we have a link to all of the legislative guidance from DOE that we're working on from this past session. And again, I will try to leave some time for questions at the end, and we'll keep rolling through. So a little bit about our team. Obviously, as Amanda said, I'm Rebekah Frazer. I'm the school counseling specialist for DOE. I have been in this role. I'm going on my third year. Before that, I was a former school counselor. I spent most of my time in the high school setting at Brownsburg High School, but I also did work in the middle school setting in my hometown before moving back to Indianapolis, excuse me. I am also a mental health counselor. I've done some private practice counseling, but before actually becoming a school counselor, I started in the juvenile justice setting and working with adolescent offenders. I'm also an ASCA member. I was recently elected to the ISCA board and have been involved in ISCA. And I also work as the communications chair for ISCA as well. Michelle Clark, that name is probably familiar to you. She was actually in the school counseling specialist role before I took that on. She's the director of our student, school, and family engagement team. And we support kind of everything we say student well-being. But she will also be jumping in on these presentations with me. She couldn't join us today, but we'll continue to support this legislative update throughout the state this coming year. We do have resources from our team. The DOE website has kind of changed a little bit, but we still have our resources available on Moodle. So we encourage you to join, and we'll add, we're doing monthly webinars from our team this year. So we've already done 2 of those so far, and we've put that information on Moodle if you want to go back and take a look. But we also have some other resources there as well that can support you in your work as school counselors or school social workers. We also have Project Aware on our team and some other prevention resources like QPR and things along those lines. But if you have questions for our whole team or you're not sure who to contact, you can also email us at our engagement inbox, and we all kind of tag in on that as well. So without further ado, we'll dive into kind of what you're here for. And I apologize. My family is dealing with sickness, so I'm working on my allergies here and going to work through this. So, but if you have questions or clarifications, again, we'll leave time at the end. But following the end of each legislative session, we respond as a department on how to support you. I always like to say, like, disclaimer, like, we don't make the legislative rules or guidelines in Indiana. Our legislators do that, and we help support you in meeting those guidelines. So we encourage you, especially, I'm going to talk about, I know a lot of you are here probably for high school redesign. We're going to have comments. You can reach out to your legislators, your elected officials, and advocate for your role. And we continue to do that as at the department as well for you. But you can come back to this guidance document. It's updated as we continue to roll out things from this last session. But also I'm going to dive into those a little bit more individually today too. So from this past session, our main priorities from the Department of Ed, not surprising, this was a priority last session, is ensuring students can read by the end of 3rd grade. We know students are, I think it's 80% more likely to graduate from high school if they are able to read by 3rd grade. That is a priority and will continue to be a priority for our state. We're, along with that, kind of redesigning iLearn so that it's more of an ongoing benchmark assessment of where students are in their reading, and I'll dive into that a little bit more in Senate Bill 1. Helping students gain those digital literacy skills. We know, again, that's a priority for our state moving forward, just in making sure our students are competitive in the future in the workforce. And again, lastly, I know the elephant in the room, rethinking high school. And again, we're still in the session of figuring that out, where we just rolled out the second edition of that. And so I'll dive into that a little bit here
called in
today
medicine
as well.
for my daughters, Delaney and Riley. And I just wanted to let you know that.
So we'll get started with Senate Enrolled Act 1. We know, again, the last 3 years we've been supporting educators and that training of science of reading. We want to, again, be proactive in student interventions and supporting students in building those literacy skills, really focusing on that kindergarten through 3rd grade and making sure they have a great start. Oops, my slide deck here. There we go. Sorry, it paused on me there for a second. So breaking down Senate Bill 1, again, we're going to start proactively administering iRead to all 2nd grade students and looking at, again, getting a benchmark on where they are and seeing if they're on track for reading, and again, try to be proactive in providing those reading supports if needed. We want to then know if students, once we get to the end of that 2nd grade year, if they're reading proficiently, they're on track, or they're at risk. So this, I know a lot of people feel that this is a retention bill, but again, we really want it to be proactive in supporting students and making sure that they're ready to read before they leave, or they're able to read before they finish 3rd grade. So again, it will be that universal screener that we'll work with. We'll also identify a vendor, it hasn't been done yet, for that assessment that will continue to support schools and educators. Also, part of Senate Bill 1 is making sure that families receive those iRead results quickly, and that they are involved in that process of providing additional supports or interventions if needed. We'll also look at offering summer school to assist those kids that have been identified as at risk. And there will be some information coming for that as well. Another piece of Senate Bill 1, it does codify that definition of retention to ensure that fewer students who cannot read are not promoted to the 4th grade. For those students that are retained, the bill also requires an increase in those targeted supports aligned to the science of reading. So you thought I was almost done with Senate Bill, right? It's a big one, not quite yet. Regarding that retention, starting in spring 2025, 3rd grade students must be retained if they do not pass the iRead after 2 attempts, unless they have received a good cause exemption or the student has already been retained for a year. So it would only be that one time. If they do not pass the iRead but are promoted to higher grades, they do have to keep taking that test until they pass it or enter the 7th grade. And again, we hope with providing those interventions that we wouldn't get to that point would be our goal. All right, so Senate Bill 6 now, or Senate Enrolled Act 6. It is a sister bill to Senate Bill 1, excuse me, except that Senate Bill 6 focuses on targeting students who are in grades 4 through 8 that have already moved on and need that continued literacy support and intervention. It's a pretty broad bill. It just gives our department administrative authority to address those concerns for students that are still not reading proficiently. For House Enrolled Act 1243, this is also a very big bill. It has a lot of different items that go through the Department of Ed. So it is a focus on assessment redesign, improving the digital literacy that I mentioned before, rethinking high school graduation requirements, and also requiring a study to look at fees that are sent to students and families for education. So House Bill 1243 clears the way for the through-year assessment pilot that was developed by the academics team. It removes some items in Indiana code that could potentially conflict with the pilot. The bill also contains language that helps sunset Indiana's prior graduation requirements. For those of you that don't know, you can't rule make in contradiction to existing codes. So that's why the language is critical for us to be able to do our work in high school redesign. I will speak more about the new proposed high school diploma further on in the presentation, because I know a lot of you are here to get that information. Draft 2 is currently under development. We finished the draft 1, but again, we're still in that proposed. Nothing is set in stone yet. Another piece of 1243 contains some of the governor's agenda items, including the requirement of a computer science course for high school graduation starting in 2029, and also requiring schools to participate in a fee study to reported fees that are charged to families at the local level. Schools must include the total number collected under each fee, and then IDOE must post the data online to ensure transparency to families. So another piece of 1243 includes student attendance measures and disciplinary notifications. We are really working on another piece at the department is trying to reduce chronic absenteeism, and we will have some resources coming for that as well. House Bill 1243 also allows for schools to provide student instruction on internet safety. I know a lot of you are already doing that, but we will provide schools by July 2025 a list of high quality, age appropriate curricular materials that will be at no charge for schools to use. We'll also look at on this bill streamlining data reporting. We know a lot of you are involved in that. So there will be some more support forthcoming in that area. All right, so we'll dive into rethinking high school. So as we know, a big part of this bill is that with the graduating class of 2029, we must align our diploma waiver statuses with any new diploma requirements by November 1st, 2026. As I said before, the first round of public comment ended on July 30th, and we made some significant changes from your feedback. And we'll continue to do that with this second draft of public comment. It's not available just yet, but it will be soon. So once that comes available, the link will be on the website that's there for the diplomas. But I am going to review the second draft that was just released at the most recent School Board of Ed meeting. I think that was almost 2 weeks ago now. When we're looking at the new high school experience moving for the future, one shared goal that we have had, and this isn't new at the department, this has been kind of at the forefront of why we were looking at adjusting high school requirements, is just making sure that every student has that pathway for success and helping them to maximize their time in high school, regardless of what their goals are. So we're really prioritizing enrollment, employment, or enlistment and service moving forward. So again, that second draft of the diploma rule is available now. We tried to streamline and simplify that to include one base diploma with minimum and flexible requirements for every student, as well as that opportunity for students to earn readiness seals that are aligned with their unique path. The alternate diploma is still an option for students that have that significant cognitive disability. That has not changed. The alternate diploma is still the same moving forward for students that need that opportunity. The new diploma structure does include, again, that one base diploma with minimum and flexible requirements for every student. We wanted to make sure that students had the option to have personalized electives as well, in addition to earning those credits in those core content areas. We do have, again, the opportunity for students to earn additional readiness seals that are aligned with their pathway. We want to help connect students to focus on their career tracks and seamlessly connect them to what's next, whether that's college, whether that's the workforce, or again, enlistment or public service as well. We do want to provide students and parents with that blueprint for success, again, in whatever pathway that they choose. There is a link so that you can see this a little closer at the bottom of the screen if it's hard for you to read. We wanted to compare, to make it simple, again, as a school counselor, I know we've been doing Indiana Core 40 for many years, to compare the current graduation requirements with the future diploma requirements. I am going to dive into each one, but I know I'm a visual learner, so I like having this side-by-side comparison to see what is the difference. So overall, again, looking at credits, we're at 42 credits, and then we'll dive into those honor seal requirements. And again, all of this is proposed. So after looking through this, if you have questions or feedback, again, that will open up here soon. So looking at, actually, I'm going to go ahead on, I apologize, on this screen, looking through the differences. The core credits are very similar. I think the only thing that's a little different is that there is not those directed electives. That's where we kind of look at those 3 different readiness seals and kind of supporting students in that path. And that is where, again, those personalized electives, students are encouraged to utilize those new readiness seals. Personalized electives can include those variety of courses such as CTE, performing arts, world languages. Students are required that college and career credit. That is different from the prior diploma as well. And then as far as the core credits, it's just a little bit of shifting as well, what is proposed so far. For both the enrollment and employment seals, we are looking at it is very similar to the honors diploma that is currently there and the technical honors diploma. So again, adding those additional requirements. For the Honors Plus seal, one thing that we have promoted as a department is those credentials of value. So that includes, under the enrollment and employment, looking at students maybe earning an associate's degree, a technical certificate. The Indiana College Core would be an option as well. And then also looking at work-based learning. That is a priority that has been part of high school redesign as well, for options for students in those areas.
On the 800? That was weird.
We have shared this updated diploma with many different partners across the state. We did get feedback from our post-secondary providers as well, because we know they are a big piece of this and making sure that students are prepared for that next step if it is college or that enrollment piece. So, and we've also shared with some of our other community partners, such as the Indiana School Counselor Association, the Indiana Association for Principals, and also superintendents as well. So for the next steps, again, kind of that rulemaking timeline and moving forward, the second round of public comment will begin here shortly. As soon as that comes out, it will be on the diploma website and will also be released in Dr. Jenner's weekly newsletter. If you forget everything I've said today, if you're not getting that auto delivered to your inbox every Friday, I'd recommend going to the DOE website and just type in Dr. Jenner's weekly newsletter, and you can have that sent, because that's where a lot of this information is rolled out. In addition to when we have grant opportunities or other important information, it's important for you to be in the know of that coming forward. But the next step after that is before December 31st, we will provide more work-based learning guidance, and also have a list of comprehensive credentials of value that will be released. I mentioned a few of those when we were looking at the seals, but also the School Board of Ed will adopt that final rule before December 31st. You are welcome to view the School Board of Ed meetings. Those are live streamed. You can watch the recordings. You can also enter in public comment if you're interested as well. So I recommend following along with the School Board of Ed happenings also. So for next school year, 2025-2026, schools can opt in towards the new Indiana diploma, but then the following year, 2028-2029, the following couple of years, the new diploma will be in effect for all graduating seniors, but schools can opt in early in that process. A few additional changes that came out of House Bill 1243 also contain some of the governor's agenda items, including the requirement, again, of that computer science course. We were looking at post-secondary waivers. It does require students to complete a minimum of 8 semesters of high school before being eligible for a waiver. One thing I did forget to mention as I was going through the readiness seals, if students are not meeting one of the readiness seals, graduation pathways would still be in effect. I know that's been a question I've seen on Counselor Talk. So graduation pathways isn't going away as an option if students are just earning that base diploma. Another piece of 1243, it does state that successful completion of an IB program can count towards high school credits that are required for graduation. Also, for homeschool students and non-public school students, it does allow a parent, a juvenile judge, or non-public head of school to sign off to allow students to take the high school equivalency exam. The form for that is linked in the presentation if you do need that. Also, part of 1243, it does define in statute what's required to count as a college credit for students. This is helpful for those students as they're moving on to post-secondary, that if they have a score of 4 or higher on the IB exam, course completion in an acceptable institution, or 3 or higher on the AP exam, or a score of E or higher on the Cambridge International Advanced A or AS exam should count for college credit. The AP exam has been around for a while, but again, it adds in that IB language and Cambridge International as well. It also requires schools to include the student's latest statewide assessment results on their transcript if the student requests it. I know that that's been a kind of a hot point for counselors, is that it was required, or it is currently required, to put those assessment results, but we have heard feedback that has limited some opportunities for students. So we did advocate for that change. Also, 1243 updates language concerning the alternate diploma to allow smaller schools under 100 students to count one student earning the alternate diploma towards their graduation rate, because we know that 1% for smaller schools, it was a skewed number. All right, so we'll move on to House Enrolled Act 1233. Indiana is the first in the nation to participate in elementary and middle school robotics programs. So there is a grant opportunity from this House Enrolled Act that aims to improve access to higher quality STEM programming. The grant application will be available sometime this month. Again, I recommend following Dr. Jenner's weekly newsletter, or also you can go to the IDOE STEM education webpage that's linked here to keep an eye out for that opportunity. Next, we'll talk about Senate Enrolled Act 8. As I mentioned before, the Indiana College Core, we are encouraging schools to offer the core and it formally changes the Indiana College Core actually to the statewide Transfer General Education Core. So now you have to memorize another name. So all public and non-public accredited high schools must do one of the following. So either offer the Indiana College Core beginning in the 2024-2025 school year, submit an implementation plan to CHE by October 1st, 2024, to offer it in the 2025-2026 school year. There is the option again to submit the implementation plan and then offer it the following year. Or lastly, submit a core feasibility report outlining why you could not offer the core. But I would say out of this, we see schools of all sizes offering the Indiana College Core. I know it can be a little bit difficult at first maybe to think through that, but I know that the Commission of Higher Ed is happy to support you in offering the core to your students. Another piece of Senate Enrolled Act 8 is that students beginning in the 2025-2026 school year can apply college credits to both public Indiana colleges as well as colleges defined in Indiana Code 21-7-13-6, that those colleges that are regionally accredited, state or nonprofit operated, that provide credits towards a baccalaureate degree do have to apply college credits for students. Those institutions are also required, again, to offer college credit for Cambridge International Advanced Exam level scores, as they currently do for both AP and IB exams. So again, we're trying to encourage schools to give students credit. Senate Enrolled Act 185. I know this is a little bit of a hot topic. Student use of those wireless communication devices, including cell phones and smartwatches. Each school corporation has to adopt a policy that prohibits students from using those during instructional time, with some exceptions. So there is a memo there that has more information on what is required, but just wanted to keep you in the loop on that. I know a lot of times parents reach out to school counselors with those questions and concerns first. Senate Enrolled Act 211. This is Excellence in Civic Engagement designation. So it does require the IDOE in collaboration with CHE to establish the Excellence in Civic Engagement designation for high school students, beginning with the class of 2029. When establishing that criteria, we may consider students' documented volunteer hours, their participation in project-based learning opportunities, also completing coursework that's emphasizing understanding of civic society, government, the democratic process, and then also any additional criteria. So further guidance will be available for this before December 1st of 2024. We're continuing to work on it. So feel free to come back to this presentation or the legislative update guide, so stay tuned. For Senate Enrolled Act 282, as I mentioned before, we are really looking at supporting schools and trying to be proactive in chronic absenteeism. So Senate Enrolled Act 282 does require IDOE and our state attendance officer to implement truancy prevention measures. It includes us reviewing data and establishing guidance to help schools adopt truancy policies, and this would be in accordance with Indiana Code. We did release a statewide prevention or tool that you can look at your attendance trends. So I think that came out in Dr. Jenner's weekly newsletter today. So I would keep an eye on that or take a look at it. And we will have further guidance coming in this area as well. House Enrolled Act 1380. This has to do with CTE programs for firefighter and emergency medical certifications. It reduces the age for students to participate in either the firefighting programs or EMT programs from 18 to 16. I know that was always a struggle when I worked with our career center, that we would have students that were interested in those programs, but they weren't old enough. So I'm excited about this, that students will have the opportunity to participate sooner. House Enrolled Act 1104. This has to do with school safety and school resource officers and offering those armed intruder drills. So it does update requirements for schools to conduct those drills, and also making sure that you have a school safety plan that's developed and established protocols and policies. But also a big piece of this is just keeping the mental health of your students and faculty in mind. Like, we want you to be prepared, but we want to make sure that we have access to mental health services following the drills in case students need it, that there's advance notice of the drills to families so that they're aware, and that we have alternate plans for students that are unable to participate. There is a memo there that has further guidance available as well. House Enrolled Act 1137 does require school principals at the written request from a student's parent to allow them to attend religious instruction that's conducted by a church or association, and make sure that that is excused absence, provided that it's not more than 2 hours a week, and that the school and the entity offering the instruction collaborate to try to find the best time, like not during testing time or missing certain classes. The religious instruction may not be supported by public funds. Not sure if that's ever happening anyway. But then lastly, that schools can adopt a policy to provide credits for students if it is a continuous thing as well. If you have any questions on that, you can reach out to our state attendance officer, Kathy Daniluk, and I did include her email in the notes of the presentation if you're following along. House Enrolled Act 1001 does expand the education scholarship account eligibility. That came from last session, but it does provide the sibling of a student that has an ESA account if the student has a disability. So if they're providing transportation, educational services, occupational therapy, it may be able to be covered under the education scholarship account. So there will be some further guidance coming on this, so stay tuned for that as well. Career Scholarship Account program is also under 1001. It expands the allowable use of those CSA funds to help a student get their driver's license, because we know that is a big piece of work-based learning, is being able to transport yourself to and from those sites. But there are some limitations, that it can't exceed $1,000. There has to be a demonstrated proof of hardship as well. And again, it does need to be a prerequisite for being able to do their CSA program. So as I mentioned also prior, House Enrolled Act 1380 does provide transportation to and from work-based learning. This is for students that don't have that career scholarship account, of course. But this does say that a corporation may use its operations fund to help with transportations of students to certain apprenticeship programs, CTE programs, modern youth apprenticeships, and work-based learning as well. So this does require IDOE to prepare and submit a plan to establish a pilot program regarding student transportation. This plan will be complete by November 1st, so you can take a look at that once it's available. All right, we're almost there, I promise. I know it was a lot this last session, but House Enrolled Act 1380 also has some language concerning transfer students. If your school does allow transfer students to attend without legal settlement, which means they don't live in your district, they cannot charge transfer tuition. So you can accept students that are out of district if you have space available, but they would not have any additional fees than any other student that lives in your district. All right, so if you have questions, you're welcome to reach out to either myself or Michelle Clark. As I mentioned, with the high school redesign, public comment will be available. We can answer questions on what's been proposed, but the same as you, we will share our feedback as well, and then the school board of ed makes that final determination. But we encourage you to reach out with public comment, questions, concerns, and we'll go from there. So
Thank you, Rebekah.
I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen now. I know
Perfect.
we'll answer some questions in the chat. I do want to make sure we only have until 11:30, and I want to give plenty of time for Hilary to talk from CHE. So actually we might pause and do questions at the end just so that Hilary can get through her information. And again, we'll continue to answer questions and listen to feedback as well.
Thank you, Rebekah. Hilary, if you want to go ahead and share your screen and get settled. Rebekah, I did kind of copy and paste. We only had 2 questions during your presentation. I copied and put them at the end of the chat. So if you are able to answer those now, go ahead and put them in the chat. If not, then if you need time to, look up answers, then that's fine too. So
I will go ahead. I'll try to answer as many questions as I can that you guys have from the chat. I can say I'm new to the redesign as well, so I don't have all the answers, but I'm happy to get those back to you if I don't get your questions answered live today. So continue to put those in the chat and I'll monitor and answer the best I can.
Thank you very much. All right, Hilary, you're on.
Awesome. Can you hear me and can you see my screen?
We can. Do you want to, it's not in like presentation mode. I don't know if you want to change that so that we.
Let me
go to slideshow, maybe it'd be.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's see. Is that working for y'all?
Huh. No.
You might have to make sure you share the screen that's on the slideshow. You might have to share it again.
Oh, yeah.
I'll do entire screen. And then I'll just pull it up this way. Every time I try to share it from something else, it doesn't do it.
There you go.
Is that good? All right.
Yep,
cool.
You're good now. Thank you.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thanks so much for sticking with me through all of my technical difficulties I always have. So I'm going to run through a lot of this information with everybody. I will try to address questions, obviously, in the chat as they come through. I will give you the caveat that I am not the expert on all of the things that are in this presentation. There are some things that fully are my initiatives, but there are public policy, CTE, different workforce initiatives, obviously. So at the very end of this and on the slides that you have a lot of contact information. Best thing I can say for you is all the diverse things that CHE has been tasked with out of the 23 and 24 legislative seasons. We have very specific people who are taking these on and have full in-depth knowledge of these things. And I'm sure a lot of you have been in communication with them as well. But just wanted to continue to use those inboxes. And we are happy to answer no matter what question it is, no matter how small the question is, no matter if you feel like it's a silly question. It is not. This is all new to everybody. So feel free to send those to us and we're happy to answer those. So I'll kind of run through these, just giving a high view of Hope Agenda. Commissioner Lowry's Who's Your Opportunities and Possibilities Through Education calls us to be a top state in multiple entities, and we are well on our way. Commissioner Lowry's legacy has already begun, especially with auto enrollment and the opportunities of pushing students to college and getting certificates as well. So we're really excited about the way that we are going, but we also know that there's some things that everybody has questions on, that's new implementation, and things that we all have feelings on, of course. But if you have questions or concerns or want to know more about the HOPE agenda, it is here for you to look at. We're working through this big goal, right? Of at least 60% of Hoosiers will have a quality degree or credential beyond high school by 2025. So we're excited about the way that this is progressing. We're currently 54%, which includes those 2 and 4 year degrees and above, and 41% with an associate's degree or higher. So just kind of wanted to continue to give like a snapshot picture of what our big goal is and kind of what we're working towards overall. And a lot of these initiatives and things that are happening build up to this big goal of making sure Hoosiers have that quality degree or credential. If you're curious about why all this is so important in the value of higher education, I don't think I have to tell you all what the value of higher education is, but economic metrics as well as social metrics are here for you to peruse as well. And it's kind of helpful if you need these in your back pocket for anything that you're trying to advocate for as well, within your school corporations or your districts or the work that you are doing. So Rebekah did a great job, obviously, of going through Senate Enrolled Act 8, which is Higher Education Matters, specifically for the ICC. So bottom line, truly, like high schools that are defined, as you can see within the parentheses, have to offer the Indiana College Core this year or share if they intend to offer it no later than the 26-27 academic year. So we're just trying to capture that information now. A survey link was sent to your superintendents and high school principals on May 30th, and those responses are due October 1st. So if you have questions, if you're concerned that that has not been done, or if you are kind of in charge of this for your district or your school as being voluntold or volunteering to do so, please check in with us and make sure that that response has been received. If you are worried about that response, we're happy to confirm those things, obviously, or if you want to reach out to your superintendents and your principals to make sure that that has been received, we're happy to resend, reshare survey links as well. But anything ICC related, a lot of information is on the mycollegecore.org for just like general information about ICC. But if you have specific questions about Senate Enrolled Act 8, please email icc@che.in.gov, and Jessica and her team, she's our Director of Academic Affairs and Transfer, super happy to answer those questions and make sure that we get you clear information. If you are not aware of the Indiana College Core, if you're new to Indiana or moved here or just took a job and trying to kind of get all together on this, this is information for you that may be helpful, just an overview of what the Indiana College Core is, those stair-step progressions over the last 4 years, how many students have earned it through its creation, and then the savings of what Indiana College Core is equating to for Hoosier students as well. Senate Enrolled Act 1002 from the 2023 legislative session was about, it also charged the commission, in addition to a couple other things, with a comprehensive career coaching and navigation system. It basically says we must provide timely, comprehensive, relevant, and valuable career information. And it's kind of made up into the 2 components that have come out of that. The actual framework, which if you are curious about the framework, that should be on the che.in.gov website to look at if you have questions or want to talk about anything regarding the career coaching grant. We're more than happy to do that as well. So the framework was designed to incorporate a menu of career and college activities for students in grades pre-K through 12, elements of the Scholar Success Program for 21st Century Scholars, employability skills standards, and high school redesign have been carefully embedded within all of that. And then the clearly defined, like what is required versus recommended activities are in there as well. Greg Harrell within our public policy team, if you are aware of Greg or have had those kind of conversations, Greg has been heading this up and been in charge of those career coaching grants. So if you have questions, concerns, curious about things, unsure about things, you are more than welcome to email grants@che.in.gov. That will get to Greg, or if you have his direct email, you're more than welcome to directly email him as well. Everybody's favorite topic, I feel like, especially on Counselor Talk, if you've been on there, has been career discovery meetings. Jose Medina with CHE has been on top of getting those responses, collecting those FAQs that are coming through so we can be building those opportunities to improve directions, all that good stuff for these career discovery meetings. So this came out of House Enrolled Act 1002 in 2023. which requires the high school juniors and seniors in a school maintained by a school corporation or charter school are required to participate in those career discovery meetings. And they must discuss the current and future career opportunities, the education levels needed for the various careers, all that good stuff. Who can do these? Colleges, universities, intermediaries, employers, labor organizations will conduct the CDMs. There are several opt-out provisions available as well. For example, a student who does receive that career coaching service from like a recipient of the career coaching grant, those opt-out provisions are available. And if you are wondering about those, feel free to email cdm@che.in.gov. Jose mans that entire inbox. But also wanted to shout out on behalf of Amanda here as well too. I believe in October, there's a coffee talk with Counselor Connect in this with Jose, specifically on just career discovery meetings as well. So as you get into the school year, that will happen. So plenty of time, obviously, during that to be able to ask questions, but you don't feel like you have to wait for that. Please email cdm@che.in.gov for those questions. We know that Counselor Talk is really great for sharing the recommendations. I think you all have been like so helpful in sharing like what you're doing with CDMs as well and how you're making that happen. But if there are specific questions about how to do things or why things are the way they are, especially from legislation, like Rebekah said, we're the implementers of legislation that is given to us. So Jose is happy to be clearer about that or answer those questions if that is a concern that you do have about those career discovery meetings. 21st Century Scholars auto enrollment came out of House enrolled at 1449 in the 2023 season as well. So we just wanted to give you like a quick update on these. So the class of 2028 has been automatically enrolled. Those are your freshmen this year. If you are a high school counselor, those freshmen may not be on your roster yet. That is okay. That is normal. We are doing uploads from the Department of Education. That is where we receive all of our rosters from. And we can only update those things as long as school systems have reported their enrollment to the Department of Education. So census happens obviously at October 1. So from here until October 1, we may have a few uploads where we will try to get the class of 2028 onto your rosters. But after census, we will do a full upload of full enrollment within the state, and then all of your students should be on that roster. So outreach coordinators are happy to ensure that that is correct at that time. But if you are worried about that or are concerned about the number that you are seeing, it is probably for that reason, but feel free to reach out to us to confirm those things. Class of 2029, automatic enrollment has begun as well. So we are continuing to work through our 8th graders to make sure that we are automatically enrolling those students. Letters will go out this fall. We are working with our vendor right now. I'm part of that piece of making sure our mailing vendor is all set up and ready to go. Letters have been created, all of that good stuff. We just need to make sure that we have the right data, information, correct and updated mailing addresses, as well as just ensuring that our vendor understands like what the ask is to make sure all letters go out to those students. So that will go out retroactively for the class of 2027. So your sophomores this year who are automatically enrolled, as well as your freshmen this year. So if you're curious about just like numbers wise, what this is looking at, we're so excited because the class of 2027 cohort alone doubled over 40,000 students. And currently right now we are at our initial enrollment of over 50,000 students in the 2028 cohort. So this is truly changing lives of students and families, and we couldn't be happier about it. But if you have questions, concerns, again, reach out to your outreach coordinator. Most of you probably have that email in your inbox somewhere from outreach coordinators, or you can go to our learnmoreindiana.org website on our contact page, and you can see that information there. Michelle Ashcraft, Dr. Ashcraft, our Chief Programming Officer, as well as myself, will be hosting webinars in October regarding the auto enrollment process. So for all schools across Indiana, October 16th will be the day we will do a lunch and learn, about an hour session to go over just the process. So any questions or lingering things that you all have, we're happy to address those there. And then any school who is a community eligible provision school and are specifically wondering about like, how are you auto enrolling our students? That will be on October 17th. So for community eligible provision schools, it would probably behoove you to join us for the 16th and 17th. We will record those. Those will be put on our website. We will send those out. So if you can't make it, something comes up, we know your lives are crazy within schools. anything can pop up at any moment. So we want to make sure that you have those as resources. FAFSA-wise, what we know now, currently we're ranked as 25th in the nation in FAFSA completions for the most recent graduating class. Thank you all, because last year we ended at 39. And even with the rocky rollout, even with the issues with FAFSA, this has been incredible. And as you can see, we are still first in the nation on holding very strong on the change compared to last year in submissions and completions. Many other states have reached out to ask what we are doing. And most of the things that we can say are obviously Senate Roll Doc 167. We have great partners like Invested that I know you all contact to get those FSA IDs created and FAFSAs completed, College Goal Sundays, but also just the work that you all do in your schools every day working with your families and students. So on behalf of CHE, thank you for your dedication to your students and making sure that students are filing their FAFSA so they know what aid is they are eligible for as well. We will also have a webinar on October 1. While the FAFSA is not opening on October 1 specifically for all students, it will be open for limited groups for the 25-26 FAFSA. We ourselves will do an update for you all on October 1, so you know up to the minute information of what's happening this year. If you have questions about CTE, this is just a couple updates from Sam and Lindsay and their team. So this school year marks the full transition to next level programs of study. There's a monthly newsletter. Please sign up for that. Contact the CTE team if you have questions, especially about the computer science, new foundational course, Computing Foundations for a Digital Age. I also linked the IDOE May guidance memo. And obviously Rebekah did a great job kind of talking about that computer science piece as well too. So if you have additional questions, this is totally out of my depth. I will be very honest with you. So contacting Lindsay or Sam or the CTE team at their general inbox is going to be the best bet. We also have the pre-admissions Your Path to College initiative, class of 2025. So if you have opted in, we will communicate more information to you when letters will go out. We're hoping that at the beginning of September, the first letter will go out, and that the second letter will drop before College Go Week, so your students can take advantage of those free applications as well. Those have been sent out over Counselor Talk, and we will make sure that we send a press release out, but on our website, those schools that have the updated waivers for applying are on our website currently as well. We will have final participation numbers in the fall. We'll be doing a lunch and learn with CEL about pre-admissions information. So feel free to check in with us then, and you'll kind of get the scope of how many students we're getting decisions, how many schools are opting in. But if you were a school that opted in, thank you so much. We're so excited to be able to continue to offer this opportunity to students so they know what schools are good matches and fits for them based off of their 6th semester GPA.
There was a question, Hilary, if you had a date when those letters were going to go out.
Yeah. So are we talking about the pre-admissions letters specifically?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So first letter, most likely, so we're working with our vendor right now. I think we're kind of in the process of final contract signing of mailing those out. So I would expect that probably by mid-September, the first letter and the second letter will be going out right after each other. So I think if you want to preemptively tell your families and students, your senior class, that these letters are coming, they should be dropping pretty much right before College Go Week, one right after the other. There'll be a total of 3 letters. Technically, there'll be a first letter to the household, and then there'll be 2 letters in that second letter round, one to the parent and one to the student, just so we're trying to make sure that someone's opening the letter and someone is aware. But those are not only on the letter, those schools, they will also be in Scholar Track. So if your students do not receive a letter, but were matched, that information will be on the Scholar Track account for students. So we highly recommend that all of your students are creating Scholar Track accounts, obviously for the career discovery meetings, pre-admissions. Obviously your 21st century scholars will have them, but a lot of information will be housed there. That'll be useful for your students.
Yeah. And when will that be available in Scholar Track? I think it looks like something not there yet.
Yep, it's not there yet. So once the letters go out, we will make that live for students. So we have to check and make sure that matching is happening appropriately. So we're going through the whole, Are there the right amount of students on all of these institutions list? So we're doing a lot of testing and checking right now to ensure that accurate information is going out to students. But through outreach coordinators and through counselor talk, we will make sure to send something out to say, hey, students can access this information through Scholar Track now, and letters will be dropping soon. So, and we'll give a more accurate date of what the vendor will give us for when those letters will go out.
Great.
Yep. So that's a lot of information. I know I'm a fast talker and sped through all of that, but you have a ton of contact information here. We want to answer your questions. We want to be available to you. So please, please, please reach out directly to us so you can have the most up-to-date and correct information about initiatives and programs and legislation as much as possible. And I think that's all I have.
Thank you, Hilary. Thank you, Rebekah. Tons of information. Obviously, those could have been, individual sessions. There's so much information.
Yeah, sorry, everyone.
That's okay. This is great. This is great.
We are, shameless plug, doing some more of these presentations with ANACAC. There are some free sessions coming up. So I know we put that on Counselor Talk. We're going to send it out again. So if you want to come join us, we'll continue to do these presentations throughout the state and as things change. So
yeah, we'll be at all the IFSA workshops. So regionally, all those IFSA workshops, we will have multiple sessions, and we will go a little deeper into some of these things as well.
Yeah. And we'll have a session at the ISCA conference coming up too for counselors.
Good. So lots of different ways to access more information, access it again, rewatch, that kind of thing. Well, thank you again, both. I do have on the screen, I also put in the chat, if you want to fill out the very short session evaluation, you will receive then a PGP point in your email inbox for license renewal. So if you need that, please take just a quick second to do that. Again, this is that suggestion box for future Coffee Talk topics. So if there's something that you want us to highlight, please take a quick second to drop your idea into the link there. If you click on this green little link graphic, it will take you to that Google form to submit that. Oh, and I didn't mention, but September 4th, we're going to be talking about career scholarship accounts. And then the October 8th, which was mentioned during the session in the chat, is the career discovery meeting. So please feel free to join us for either or both of those. You should not have to register for Coffee Talk again. I don't think. We're kind of working that out with Eventbrite, but you should receive the notification of upcoming sessions as they're added. If not, I'll let you know if you need to register again to attend future sessions. Wanted to share a couple of exciting upcoming events. We have a couple in person in Indianapolis. We're doing a day-to-day workshop with Amy Porteous, and then an Engage and Renew workshop on September 27th. The Engage and Renew, the morning will be all about kind of student engagement, and then the afternoon will be different experiential wellness opportunities for you. So really excited about this. You'll be able to choose 2 of the 3 breakout sessions in the afternoon, focusing on like a sound bath, nutritional wellness, restorative art. So it's going to be really fun. So if you can, try and grab a ticket to that fun event on September 27th. Virtual, lots of virtual things happening. The Comprehensive School Counseling Institutes closed today, registration. So if you are wanting to do that, join that optional cohort to work towards carrying the torch requirements. Check out the website there. Everything, all the graphics are linked here, so you can go to the registration page from here. We have Equity Focused College and Career Counseling in September, AI in School Counseling with Dr. Russell Sabella. If anybody's familiar with him, he is very well known in the counseling world. So check that out. And then we're doing a legal series as well with several different sessions coming up for that. I don't know why my mouse is being weird here. Okay. And then finally, multi-tiered attendance support, spotlight on legal series with Counselor Connect, and a new counselor cadre. Information for those are coming soon. You won't find these yet on the registration page, but they'll be there probably in the next week or 2. So if you want to check back. Finally, some resources I wanted to let you know about. Digital Content Library. This is just a Google spreadsheet where I post all things Counselor Connect. So any recorded content, so like today's session, for example, I will post to the digital content library. Any blogs that have been written for Counselor Connect, DIY PD guides, and podcast episodes. You can find all of that in one place on this Excel spreadsheet. So I add to it every month new things. So please be sure to look at that and bookmark it. We're excited to share that we partnered with Inspire Success and Practicing School Counselors to write a counseling curriculum library. There are 3 counseling lessons per grade level covering all 3 domains, plus lessons to meet those student instructional requirements. So bullying prevention, child abuse prevention, graduation planning. So if you are trying to look for a lesson to use with your students, check here first. You don't have to use exactly what's written there. You can take it, customize it, use it as you need to, but it's a great library. It's a great starting place at least. So take a look at that. And then finally, our calendar. I try and add any event that any organization is putting on. I try and add it to this calendar. So if you want to save this, check it often. CHE's events I'll put there, DOE's events, ISCA's events, all the events. So check that out. At the bottom of the document is contact information. So for all of the state agencies, anybody you may need to ask a question to, take a look. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there is contact information there. And I added a quick link at the very top of the document too. So at the very top, it says contacts. You can just click on that and it'll take you right to the bottom to those contacts if you need that. Finally, contact information for myself and my partner, Samantha Vidal at CISC. She's our school counseling professional learning specialist. If you have questions, please reach out. Thank you again for attending. Sorry I went 2 minutes over, but really glad you're here and we look forward to future coffee talks with you. So take care and have a great weekend. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Feel free to reach out with questions to us. Again, we'll answer them the best we can. I know we didn't have enough time at the end, but you're welcome to email us, contact our teams.
Thank you, Rebekah and Hilary.
No
Awesome information.
problem.